Okay, wow. You weren't kidding about wanting to get a handle on CRE trends for 2025. You sent over a ton of stuff, articles, reports. I see some personal notes in here too.
Yeah, I figured more is better, right?
Uh-huh.
Really want to, make sure we cover all the bases.
For sure. For sure. So let's see if we can kind of like distill all this down to the key stuff, the things you should really be paying attention to.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. Cut through the noise a little.
Exactly. So maybe a good place to start is this blog post from Allies Commercial Realty. I think they're based in Indianapolis. They have some pretty interesting predictions for 2025.
Oh, yeah, I read that one. They seem to be pretty bullish on the market stabilizing.
Yeah, and that kind of goes against like what we've been seeing lately, right? I mean, things have been so volatile, especially with interest rates.
Oh, absolutely. It's been a wild ride, but the Fed has already cut rates by 0.75 percentage points just this year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And that's starting to make a difference. Capital is becoming more accessible, and that should have a ripple effect across the entire industry.
Okay, so more money flowing, hopefully,
yeah,
means more deals.
Right, and it's not just about the money itself. Deloitte, they did a big survey. Deloitte, the big consulting firm, they surveyed a bunch of industry experts, and most of them are actually expecting improvement across the board, like key fundamentals, things like transaction volume and leasing activities. So yeah, I think we're heading towards a more stable and predictable market.
That's good. That's reassuring. But, one thing that we have to consider is the new administration. I mean, we're heading into a second Trump term, and they've hinted at some pretty big policy changes that could really impact CRE.
Yeah, no doubt about that. They've mentioned tax incentives, streamlining regulations. There's even talk about potentially opening up more federal land for development.
Oh.
It seems like they're really trying to address those housing shortages, especially in those high demand areas. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with opportunity zones. That was a big initiative in his first term. So curious to see how that evolves.
Yeah. And we can't forget about, the administration's stance on interest rates, right? They've consistently favored lower rates, which could, really boost CRE investment.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely something to keep an eye on. Shifting gears a little bit, I think we should also talk about sustainability. It's not just a trend anymore. It's like a core value. It's really reshaping the entire industry.
Yeah, it seems like every new development is, LE certified or touting their green initiatives. But is it more than just like marketing hype?
Mm-hmm.
Are investors and tenants really prioritizing sustainability?
I think they are. I mean, IBM did a survey recently and found that 51% of global respondents said they are prioritizing environmental sustainability more now than they were just a year ago.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. And it makes sense when you think about it. I mean, buildings account for something like 39% of global greenhouse gas emissions.
39%. Whoa, that's huge.
Yeah, it's a massive chunk. So it's not just about saving the planet, There are real financial incentives for going green now.
Right. Like regulations and stuff.
Yeah, like New York City, for example, they've got Local Law 97, and that sets strict emission limits for large buildings.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and if you don't comply, you face some pretty hefty fines. So developers and building owners are scrambling to get those LED and WELL certifications, Those are like gold stars now. They signal to tenants and investors that you're serious about sustainability.
So it's a smart business move as much as it is, an ethical one.
Absolutely. And it's not just about regulations. Tenants are demanding it too. People want to work and live in spaces that are healthy, that are energy efficient.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of tenants, we should talk about the office. Remember when everyone thought the pandemic would kill it off?
Oh, yeah. The death of the office.
Yeah. But things are a bit more nuanced than that. Right.
It's not dead, but it's definitely evolving. The hybrid work model where people split their time between the office and home, that's here to stay. 80% of employees actually prefer it. And get this, 90% of newer U.S. companies are offering it.
Wow. Okay. So what does that mean for commercial real estate then?
Well, it means we need to rethink traditional office spaces. Mm-hmm. Flexibility is key. We're seeing a surge in demand for co-working spaces, flexible lease terms, and office layouts that cater to collaboration and socialization, not just rows of desks.
Right. It's about creating spaces that people actually want to be in.
Exactly. And that kind of ties into this whole trend of urban transformation, right? I mean, cities are changing. We're seeing mixed-use developments popping up everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. Those developments that blend, residential, commercial, retail, all in one place.
Right. No more soul-crushing commutes. You can live, work, shop, play all within the same complex. And it's a win-win, right? It's good for the residents who want convenience, and it's good for REITs.
REITs?
Yeah, those are real estate investment trusts.
Oh, right, REITs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are REITs so into mixed-use developments?
Well, for a couple of reasons. First, they offer diversified income streams. So instead of relying just on office tenants, they've got residents, they've got retailers, maybe even hospitality businesses all contributing to the bottom line. And second, they often command higher rents. Some reports say that rents can be, up to 25% higher compared to traditional single-use properties.
So it's a win-win for developers and investors too.
Yeah.
I mean, cities are getting revitalized, residents get convenience, and investors get higher returns.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, it does. It does. But in the midst of all these these shifts and changes, I feel like there's this one force that's impacting everything, and that's technology. It feels like the CRE industry is finally catching up to the digital age.
It's about time. And it's happening fast. I mean, we're seeing virtual and augmented reality being used to showcase properties in ways that were unimaginable a few years ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah, like actually being able to walk through a space virtually.
Right. Imagine putting on a VR headset and walking through a potential office space before it's even built.
That's wild. And I've heard that AI, artificial intelligence, is playing a bigger role too, right?
Oh, yeah. AI is becoming a game changer. It's being used for everything, from analyzing market trends and optimizing building designs to personalizing tenant experiences and even, automating building management tasks. We're talking about smarter, more efficient buildings that can anticipate and respond to the needs of their occupants.
That sounds pretty futuristic.
It is, and this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Robotics, automation, the Internet of Things—they're all transforming the way we design, build, manage, and experience commercial real estate.
So it's not enough to just understand the market anymore. You need to understand the technology too.
Exactly. Technology is no longer optional. It's an integral part of the CRE landscape.
Okay, so we've got this wave of technology sweeping through the industry, but what about the individual sectors within CRE? Are there any specific trends we should be paying attention to?
Yeah, there are definitely some interesting things happening. Let's talk about retail. Everyone thought that e-commerce would kill it off, but physical retail is actually showing some signs of resilience.
Really? That's surprising. I mean, with everyone shopping online, how's that possible?
Well, it's not about competing with online retailers head on. It's about creating experiences that you can't get online. Things like pop-up shops, interactive displays, personalized services, events, community gatherings. It's about turning shopping into an event, a social experience.
So it's not just about buying stuff anymore. It's about the experience, the atmosphere.
Exactly. And this shift is actually breathing new life into retail spaces, especially in urban areas. We're seeing malls being transformed into mixed-use complexes, vacant storefronts being converted into community hubs, and there's a renewed focus on creating, vibrant, pedestrian-friendly retail districts.
That's really cool. It's like retail is becoming more integrated into our communities. What about other sectors? Like what's happening in the industrial world?
The industrial sector is booming right now, fueled by, you guessed it, e-commerce. The demand for warehouses, distribution centers, logistics hubs, it's skyrocketing. But it's not just about, size anymore. We're talking about smart warehouses equipped with automation, robotics, and sophisticated inventory management systems.
So it's all about efficiency and speed, getting those packages to the customer as fast as possible.
Exactly. And location is key too. We're seeing a lot of development happening near urban centers and transportation hubs to minimize delivery times and costs.
It's amazing how e-commerce is changing not just retail, but the industrial landscape too. What about data centers? It seems like they're popping up everywhere these days.
You're right. The demand demand for data storage and processing is just insatiable, and it's driving a massive expansion of data centers. They're becoming a really hot asset class, attracting billions of dollars in investment.
So are data centers a good bet then, if you're looking for a stable long-term investment?
They certainly have the potential, and they're not just those big energy guzzling warehouses anymore. There's a lot of innovation in data center design with a focus on sustainability and energy efficiency.
Right. With all the data we're generating, those data centers need to be as sustainable as possible.
They do, and that brings us to another key trend that's impacting all sectors of CRE. The rise of the tenant experience.
Oh yeah, I've been hearing a lot about that lately. It seems like everyone's talking about creating amazing experiences for their tenants. But what does that actually mean?
It means going beyond just, providing a functional space. It's about creating an environment that fosters well-being, productivity, and a sense of community. Think, natural light, green spaces, wellness amenities, flexible workspaces, smart building systems that can personalize the experience and opportunities for socialization and collaboration.
So it's a lot more than just adding a gym or a coffee shop to the lobby.
It is. It's about taking a holistic approach to tenant well-being, creating spaces that people actually want to spend time in.
So it's not just about attracting tenants anymore. It's about keeping them, making them happy.
Exactly. In a competitive market, the tenant experience is becoming the key differentiator.
Okay, so we've talked about sustainability, the rise of the hybrid work model, the transformation of cities, the impact of technology, and the importance of the tenant experience. That's a lot.
It is, and we haven't even touched on, the rise of secondary markets or the challenges that are on the horizon.
Oh, right. We still have a lot to cover.
Yeah.
But before we move on, is there one key takeaway you want our listener to remember from everything we've talked about so far?
I'd say the biggest takeaway is that the CRE industry is in a state of flux. Change is happening faster than ever before, driven by technology, evolving tenant expectations.
So what does that mean for someone who's, trying to navigate all of this?
It means you need to be adaptable, you need to be informed, and you need to be, willing to embrace new ideas.
Okay. So flexibility and a willingness to learn. That's good advice for any industry, really.
It is, but it's especially crucial in CRE right now.
So it's not just about understanding the market. It's about understanding the forces that are shaping the market.
Exactly. You need to be able to, see the big picture, anticipate trends, and make informed decisions based on solid data.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's dive into some of those specific trends that are shaping the market. We were just talking about the rise of secondary markets. What's driving that trend, and why should our listener care?
Well, traditionally the coasts have been the centers of CRE activity, but that's starting to change. We're seeing a lot of growth in secondary markets, especially in the Sun Belt region.
The Sun Belt, yeah. So that's places like Florida, Texas, Arizona.
Exactly, and there are a few key factors driving this. First, the cost of living is significantly lower in these areas compared to the coasts. That's attractive to both, individuals and businesses.
So it's all about affordability.
It's a big part of it, but it's not just about, costs. These areas also have they have strong economic potential. They're attracting new businesses, they're creating jobs, and they're experiencing population growth.
And let's be honest, people are flocking to these areas for the lifestyle too.
Yeah.
The warm weather, the outdoor activities.
Absolutely. And that's creating a surge in demand for housing, for office space, for retail, for all the things that make up a thriving real estate market.
So if you're looking for opportunities outside of those traditional hubs, the Sun Belt's a good place to look.
It is. And it's not just the Sun Belt. There are other secondary markets emerging all over the country, each with their own unique advantages.
All right, so we've got this shift towards secondary markets. What about the challenges, though? I mean, it can't all be good news, right?
Of course not. Every opportunity comes with its own set of challenges. I think one potential obstacle is the political landscape. We talked about the Trump administration's policies, and while some of them aim to stimulate growth, others could create some headwinds.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, tariffs on building materials are a big concern. They could drive up construction costs and make new developments less profitable.
Right, right. And what about those supply chain disruptions?
Oh yeah, those are a big one. They can lead to delays. They can make it harder to source materials, and that just adds to those rising costs.
So even with a more stable market and favorable interest rates, these other factors could still throw a wrench into things.
They definitely could. And then there's the ever-present threat of climate change. We talked about how it's driving the sustainability trend, but it also poses some real risks.
Like what kind of risks are we talking about?
Well, things like rising sea levels and extreme weather events. They can damage properties, they can lead to higher insurance premiums, and they could even make some areas, uninhabitable.
That's a scary thought. So it's not just about building green buildings. It's about understanding those long-term risks and making sure that your investments are resilient.
Exactly. And it's about being proactive. We need to start planning for these challenges now.
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So we've got this complex mix of opportunities and challenges on the horizon. This is definitely not your grandma's real estate market anymore.
It's not, but that's what makes it so exciting. The CRE industry is evolving rapidly, and those who can adapt, who can innovate, and who can navigate these complexities, they're the ones who will thrive.
That's an inspiring thought. So just to sum up what we've covered so far, the market is stabilizing, the Fed is cutting rates, the Trump administration is shaking things up with their policies, sustainability is a must-have, the hybrid work model is here to stay, cities are transforming, technology is a game changer, the tenant experience is king, secondary markets are booming, but there are also those challenges on the horizon, like tariffs, supply chain disruptions, and climate change. Did I miss anything?
I think you got it all. You did a great job of summarizing the key points.
Well, I've had a great teacher. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, there's one more thing I wanted to touch on, and that's the metaverse.
Yes, the metaverse, the final frontier.
Right. It's generating a lot of buzz, and for good reason. It has the potential to really disrupt just about every industry, including CRE.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what is the metaverse? Why should someone who's interested in CRE, care about it?
Well, think of it as a persistent, shared virtual world where people can, interact with each other. They can participate in experiences. They can even own digital assets. It's like the internet, but more immersive, more interactive.
So I'm picturing myself with a VR headset on, walking around this virtual world. But how does that connect to real estate?
Right. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Some people think that the metaverse could actually reduce the demand for physical office space. Imagine teams collaborating seamlessly in virtual reality, attending meetings, working on projects, all without ever leaving their homes.
Yeah. If you can do everything in the metaverse, then why bother with an office?
Right. And some companies are already experimenting with virtual offices in the metaverse. It's still early days, but it's definitely a trend to watch.
So should we all be investing in virtual real estate now?
I think it's probably a little too early to say, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. The metaverse is still evolving, and we're only just beginning to understand its implications.
So it's a wild card. It could be a disruptor, but it could also be an opportunity.
Exactly.
How do we even begin to make sense of all of this?
Well, that's the challenge, right? It's a complex space, and it's changing so rapidly. But I think one thing is clear: it's not going away. And it's going to have a profound impact on how we live, how we work, and how we interact with the world.
So what do we do? I mean, how do we, as people interested in CRE, start to wrap our heads around this?
I think the key is to stay informed, to stay curious, and to be willing to experiment. Don't be afraid to dive in, to explore the different platforms and see what's happening. The more you understand this emerging technology, the better equipped you'll be to navigate its impact.
That sounds like good advice. So for our listener who's trying to make sense of all these trends and prepare for the future of CRE, what would you say is the most important thing to remember?
I'd say the most important thing is to embrace the change. The CRE industry is undergoing a period of rapid transformation, and those who are who are resistant to change are going to be left behind. But for those who are open to new ideas, who are willing to experiment, and who are eager to learn, the future is full of possibilities.
That's a great note to end on. So to our listeners, stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll explore some of the more specific implications of these trends. Until then, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the world of commercial real estate.
Thinking about the metaverse and its potential impact on real estate, it brings up some really interesting questions. Like, we talked about how it could, reduce the need for physical office space, but could it also create new opportunities?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's easy to get caught up in the doom and gloom scenarios, but there's always another side to the coin, right? What kind of opportunities are you thinking about?
Well, imagine using the metaverse to showcase properties in a whole new way. Instead of just looking at, static photos or even virtual tours, potential tenants could actually step inside a virtual replica of the space and experience it firsthand. They could walk around, they could check out the views, they could even rearrange the furniture to see how it would feel.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. It's like taking those virtual tours to a whole new level.
Exactly. And it's not just about showcasing existing properties. The metaverse could revolutionize property development. Imagine architects and developers using it to create virtual models of buildings before they even break ground. They could test different designs, different layouts, even different materials.
Yeah. That could save a ton of time and money in the long run. No more building those expensive physical models.
Right. And it's not just about design and development either. Think about property management. The metaverse could be used to train property managers on how to handle different situations, from tenant complaints to emergency procedures. They could practice in a safe virtual environment before they have to, deal with the real thing.
So the metaverse could be like a giant training simulator for the entire CRE industry.
It could. And it's not just about training. Think about tenant engagement. The metaverse could be used to create virtual communities for tenants where they can, connect with each other, access building services, and even participate in events.
So instead of just being a physical space, a building could also have a virtual twin in the metaverse.
Exactly. And that could lead to a stronger sense of community, increased tenant satisfaction and ultimately higher retention rates.
So the metaverse, while potentially disruptive, also offers a whole range of exciting possibilities.
It does. And it's not just the metaverse either. There are other emerging technologies that we need to be paying attention to, like blockchain, for example. Blockchain has the potential to revolutionize how we buy, sell, and lease properties.
Blockchain.
Yeah.
That's the technology behind cryptocurrencies, right?
Yeah.
I've heard it mentioned in the context of real estate, but I'm not really sure how it all works.
Well, in simple terms, blockchain is a decentralized and secure way to record transactions. So in the context of real estate, it could be used to create a permanent and tamper-proof record of property ownership, making transactions more transparent, more efficient.
So no more digging through mountains of paperwork or worrying about fraud.
That's the idea. Blockchain could really streamline the entire process of buying, selling, and leasing properties, reduce costs, increase security.
That sounds like a win-win for everyone.
It does. And it's not just about transactions. Blockchain could also be used to manage property data, track building maintenance, even automate rent payments. The possibilities are vast.
It's amazing how technology is transforming every aspect of the CRE industry. And we haven't even talked about artificial intelligence yet.
Right. AI is another game changer. We've already talked about how it can be used for data analytics, but its potential goes way beyond that. AI could be used to optimize building design, to personalize tenant experiences, and even to predict future market trends. Okay,
let's break that down a little bit. How could AI be used to optimize building design?
Well, imagine an AI system that can analyze data on tenant preferences, energy consumption, local climate conditions, and it can use that data to design a building that's both functional and sustainable. It could determine, the optimal placement of windows for natural light, the most efficient HVAC system, even the best materials to use for insulation.
So AI could help us create buildings that are not only beautiful, but also incredibly efficient and environmentally friendly.
Exactly. And it's not just about the building itself. AI can also be used to optimize the use of space within a building. Like imagine a system that can analyze data on how people, move through a building and use different spaces, and then use that to determine the optimal layout for offices, for meeting rooms, for common areas.
So AI could help us create spaces that are more functional, more adaptable.
Right. And what about personalizing tenant experiences?
Yeah, how does AI fit into that?
Well, think about smart building systems that can learn your preferences and adjust the environment accordingly. Like imagine a system that knows you prefer a cooler temperature and automatically adjusts the thermostat when you enter your office, or a system that knows your favorite coffee order and has it waiting for you when you arrive at the building.
Wow, that's taking personalization to a whole new level.
It is. It's all about creating a more seamless and enjoyable experience.
So AI can help us design better buildings. It can help us optimize space utilization, and it can help us personalize the tenant experience.
Yeah.
What about predicting future market trends? Can AI really do that?
Well, AI is already being used by investors and analysts to analyze market data and identify trends. But as AI systems get more sophisticated, they'll be able to process even larger amounts of data and make even more accurate predictions.
So it's like a crystal ball for the real estate market.
It's not quite a crystal ball, but it's getting closer. AI can help investors, identify emerging opportunities, assess risks, make more informed decisions.
This is a lot to take in. It feels like we're really on the cusp of a major transformation in the CRE industry.
We are, and it's an exciting time to be a part of it.
But with all this focus on the future, let's not forget about the present. What are some key takeaways that our listeners should be focusing on right now?
I'd say the biggest takeaway is that the CRE industry is in a state of rapid evolution. To succeed in this environment, you need to be adaptable, you need to embrace innovation, and you need to stay ahead of the trends.
So don't get stuck in the old ways of doing things.
Right. The second takeaway is that sustainability is no longer optional. It's a must-have for any CRE stakeholder.
So it's not just about being eco-friendly, it's about creating healthier, more efficient, and ultimately more valuable properties.
Right. The third takeaway is that tenant experience is paramount. In a competitive market, the properties that provide exceptional experiences for their tenants are the ones that are going to thrive.
So focus on creating those spaces that foster well-being, community, a sense of belonging.
Exactly. And finally, keep an eye on those emerging markets. Secondary markets and the Sun Belt offer, exciting opportunities. They're attracting a new generation of residents and businesses, and their growth potential is significant.
Okay, those are some great takeaways. But before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, I wanted to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, the potential impact of the metaverse and virtual workspaces on the demand for physical office space. It's a question that's been kind of lingering in my mind.
It's a question that doesn't have an easy answer. It's tempting to think of the metaverse as a competitor to physical space, but it could also become a complementary force.
That's an interesting perspective. How so?
Well, imagine using the metaverse to showcase properties in a more immersive way. Allow potential tenants to experience a space before it's even built.
Right. It could revolutionize property marketing and leasing.
Exactly. And it could also be used for virtual tours, for property management training, even for tenant collaboration.
So instead of replacing physical spaces, the metaverse could actually enhance them, create like a hybrid experience.
Yeah, precisely. And that's what I find so exciting about the future of CRE. It's not about choosing between physical and virtual. It's about finding ways to integrate them seamlessly.
It's a future that demands creativity, adaptability, and a willingness to embrace new technologies.
And I have no doubt that the CRE industry is up to the challenge.
Well said. So to our listener, as you navigate the evolving world of commercial real estate, remember to stay curious, to stay informed, and never stop exploring the the possibilities.
The future is yours to shape.
And that's the beauty of it. The CRE industry is dynamic. It's constantly evolving, and it's full of opportunities
for those who are bold enough to seize them.
Great. And with that, let's wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive. I mean, we've talked about everything from interest rates and Trump's policies to like the metaverse and tenant experience. The CRE landscape is definitely not boring.
Not even close. It's a really dynamic time to be in commercial real estate. And I think one of the most fascinating things is how all these trends are interconnected. It's not just about individual trends happening in isolation. It's about how they're all influencing each other.
Yeah. It's like this giant puzzle where all the pieces are constantly like shifting and interacting.
Yeah.
So for our listener who's trying to make sense of this complex puzzle, what's the most important piece to focus on? Like, what's the key takeaway?
I'd say the key is to be adaptable. To be forward-thinking.
Yeah.
The CRE industry is evolving at an unprecedented pace, and it's being driven by technology, by changing demographics, by a whole host of factors, and those who are stuck in the old ways of doing things are going to be left behind.
So it's not enough to just understand the market. You have to be able to like anticipate what's coming next.
Exactly, and that requires a willingness to embrace new ideas, to experiment, to constantly challenge your assumptions.
It sounds like a lot of work.
It can be, but it's also incredibly exciting. The CRE industry is full of opportunities for those who are willing to seize them.
So for our listener who's maybe feeling a little overwhelmed by all of this, what's one concrete step they can take today?
Start learning, read industry publications, attend conferences, connect with other professionals, and just, stay up to date on the latest trends and technologies. The more you know, the better equipped you'll be.
Great advice. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. There are tons of resources available to help you learn and grow in the CRE industry. Reach out to mentors, join industry organizations, and connect with other professionals who are facing those same challenges.
Absolutely. The CRE community is full of incredibly talented and knowledgeable people who are always willing to share their insights. So don't be afraid to ask questions and learn from those who have been there before.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Hopefully you found it, insightful, thought-provoking, and maybe even a little bit inspiring. The future of commercial real estate is being shaped right now.
Yeah.
And you have the power to be a part of it. So stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.
And as always, keep an eye on the horizon.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Get in touch with Allies Commercial Realty at info@alliescommercialrealty.com to find your ally in commercial real estate.